Hi, I'm not Jack, but I will sort of reply to your video because I found it rather interesting. As you see, I haven't downloaded it. Here it is. Clean as a whistle. What happens after I upload my response to your video? I might apologize, I might not, who knows. Let's go.
Hello, Jack. Today I want to talk about games, sexism, and maybe Gamergate. Chair change.
Chair change. Well, that actually sounds like the next thing feminists would sort of push to change. Feminism jokes. And Facebook notifications.
As you may know, Final Fantasy XV, the 15th installment in a series long past its prime in my opinion, was announced to have an all-male cast.
I didn't know that. And frankly, I don't really care about Final Fantasy. The fourth one was quite good. And haven't really tried anything else. I tried the first one. It was too old.
This in of itself is totally fine. Nothing wrong with it.
And so, why are you making this video then?
Especially because the director, Hajime Tamada, stated that they were trying to explore male intimacy in male-male friendships.
Okay.
Good, I say. This is a subject that hasn't totally been explored before, unless you count all the buddy cop movies.
Could you please give me a list of a few buddy cop movies from Japan? And how do buddy cop movies explore male intimacy? As far as I remember, none of the buddy cop movies are really about male intimacy. It was more like pow cops. I think I get your point, but your wording doesn't really work well in this case.
But it's still an important subject for games to tackle.
Yeah, so why are you making this video then?
The director also stated that even the presence of one female in the group will change their behavior, and they'll act differently.
Yes. Yes, it's a very likely thing to happen in a group of guys when one single female is in the group. That's how guys work, you know. As I know, we are a strange gender. But we are what we are. You cannot go against the laws of nature. Though exceptions exist, but more or less you will have that guys will act differently when there is a girl present.
To give the most natural feeling, to make them feel sincere and honest, having them all be the same gender makes sense.
And, yeah. If you want to explore some subject like that, that makes complete sense.
And to an extent, this does make some sense.
It makes a lot of sense, not just some.
Unless, of course, they've been friends for a while. And so they're not wearing masks around each other.
Do you even have friends? Because that's not... Maybe some ideal friendships work that way, but if they are just friends, a single female might ruin friendships for good, even without masks. I'm just saying, been there, man. Not cool. Not cool at all.
But it is true that in most cases, the addition of women does change the behavior of men in a group.
So what was that about? You just went on about nothing then?
So far, nothing is explicitly wrong. It
Nothing is wrong at all.
might be strange that the addition of women changes the behavior of men in groups, but
It's not strange, it's normal.
that's just a fact of life, and the game is trying to take that into account.
Okay, so why are you making this video again?
Okay, fine. At best, the game will give an insight into how Japan sees male-male interactions.
Male intimacy. Not just interactions, man. If it's about intimacy, it's a bit more than just interactions. And I think that would be quite a good step forward for the LGBT community.
At worst, the game is just another instance in the systematic underrepresentation of women and minorities in gaming.
You fucking what, mate? Systematic underrepresentation of women and minorities. It's like... Jesus Christ. Do you even listen to what you were saying? It's a game that explores male intimacy, and you're complaining that there are no women. And I don't know about sexuality there, but if it's about male intimacy, then, well, minorities might be included. And about skin color, I have no bloody idea. And systematic underrepresentation? Seriously? Do you think it's some kind of patriarchal conspiracy or something? Boss, do you think we should put a female in this game? No! They must be underrepresented. But why? Patriarchy told us so. Okay. Where is this coming from? If anything, things are getting a lot better. And you have a game that is about guys and suddenly it's systematic.
Here's the important point, though. This underrepresentation is not any one game's fault.
If you put it like that, then yes.
Rather, it is the collective whole of gaming's fault.
No. It's specific. If it is true, it's specific game fault, not gaming as a whole.
You cannot point to any one game and say, that's sexist.
Yes, I can. Doesn't make it true.
Except for possibly Bayonetta, which is an amazingly fun game, and most visual novels.
Okay, how is Bayonetta possibly sexist? I've read it that it's supposedly sexist, but from the people who have played it, they say it's more empowering than anything. Sexually liberating, yada yada blada blada. Something that's more like second and first wave feminism thing. Not the pansy crying crowd of this day and age. But how? And visual novels are sexist? I just don't get it. How? But, okay, let's take your word for it.
It's not, and I cannot stress this enough, any individual game's fault for the systematic underrepresentation of women in gaming.
Yes, a systematic underrepresentation cannot be targeted towards an individual. So what you're saying is true by your own words. But first you have to prove that there is the systematic underrepresentation.
Rather, it is the collective whole of gaming's fault that this problem exists.
Is it a problem? And does it actually exist? You state that as fact, providing nothing. I know this video wasn't specifically made towards me, I'm just pointing out where you could maybe elaborate a bit, my friend.
Controversy surrounding Final Fantasy 15 comes from Director Tabata's statement on why it's an all-male cast besides story reasons.
He says he hates women, and that women do not belong in games.
Said, and I quote, "An all-male party feels almost more approachable for players."
So, who is he... Okay, so, who is he targeting the game to? That's one. And what does he exactly mean by feels almost more approachable? Why does he use those words?
That's sexist.
No. If taken out of context, it might be. But what is the context? You don't know the guy. Perhaps he is sexist, perhaps he's not. I don't think he is.
No way around it.
Yeah, whoa, I just made my ways around it, and twice. Because you just took a quote and slapped and said, that's sexist. And you don't even know, I don't even know the full context of that interview.
That's sexist.
No.
The statement implies that players are inherently more comfortable with male characters rather than possibly a mixed party of male and female characters or even female characters.
No, that's not exactly what he said. He says it's almost feel more... Listen. That's not what he says or implies. I mean, you're putting words into his mouth. Now, I really would like to see the full interview, and I would like to hear what this guy thinks about women. And is he like this dude that says, no, women must not be in games because people who play games like guys? Or what?
This implies, furthermore, that men are more approachable than women.
That does not say that. He says playing a male character might be more approachable, not men are more approachable.
And that's sexist.
Do you even know what sexism is? Well, then again, nowadays sexism is anything that... Yeah, whatever. Moving on.
Even if it is the case that players are more comfortable with an all-male party, which I don't believe is the case...
Your beliefs don't matter. Facts are facts, and if those are facts, well, suck it up.
But even if that's true, it's still sexist.
How? What is your definition of sexism? Facts are now sexist? Holy fucking balls.
It's an important thing to understand about thinking critically about games. No one is trying to ruin gaming!
Yes, they are. And actively.
No one is advocating to take away games.
Except to change them to a possible way that they don't look like the games that we would actually want to play. In essence, they want to take away our games by using tactics that doesn't make it look like they're taking away our games. They want to shove new games that they think should be played by the oh-so-highbrow walking simulator crowd.
Except for possibly stupid senators who don't know about games.
You mean the stupid senators who don't know about games and didn't really want to take games away, but rather wanted stronger laws to be implied on games so that children wouldn't be able to play them? Like children wouldn't be able to play M-rated games and so on and so forth, as it turned out in a somewhat recent interview? Are we talking about Jack Thompson, by the way?
Critical thinkers and people who are speaking critically out against Final Fantasy 15 aren't even saying that Final Fantasy 15 shouldn't exist.
Except if it was changed the way they wanted it, it might not be Final Fantasy 15 as it was intended. So they are saying Final Fantasy 15 shouldn't exist and be replaced and the title be put on a different game. You see this view? I hope you do.
It's legit to make a game that's basically just a bro trip.
Then what's the problem?
Just be honest that it's a bro trip, and they are being honest that it's a bro trip.
Except that's sexist.
But there's also that sexist statement of
Oh jeez.
an all-male party feels almost more approachable for players.
And if it is a fact, facts are now sexist. And what does sexism mean even?
And the gaming community needs to think critically about the games we produce and consume.
Thinking critically while parroting ideas spewed by people who usually don't even play a lot of games. I'd call that a bit ironic.
There is underrepresentation that needs to be addressed.
Where is it? Prove that it exists. It's getting better. It might have been there. No longer.
Do we have to change old games?
It would be stupid to say if we did.
No! We have to stop making games with male protagonists? Of course not!
Then stop whining.
What we need are more games with more female protagonists.
Then go make the games. There are more... There are games being made with more female characters each day. There are a lot of them. And there are being made more. So what if they're not AAA super titles? But you know, it might be sexist.
The problem with trying to even approach this topic and think critically about games, especially in this most current instance of Final Fantasy 15, is that there is always a violent reaction against trying to think critically about it.
But it's not thinking critically. It's claiming something and saying, that's a violent backlash because I said something stupid. You're claiming sexism. That's not critical thinking.
And to those who are having a violent reaction, I have something to say to you.
I don't care.
You cannot think critically about the games you consume and their role in the larger media and context of society in general.
It's a pastime. A way to kill time. What larger role?
Without throwing a hissy fit or name-calling, you don't deserve to play M-rated games.
You're not my mother. You know, that's the friends list. I'll go play Amnesia and Blood Omen and... what's that? Oh, this game. Okay, and Binding of Isaac and Borderlands and all that. And you can't stop me.
The only games you can play are E-rated games. Not E10 rated games, E-rated games.
And if you think about games like you think about sexism, the only game you are allowed to play is Bad Rats.
Because that's the level of maturity you are at.
Takes one to know one.
All that I'm saying is that we need to have a more critical discussion about games and the media that we are consuming.
Why? Why do we need that? It's games. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy. We want to dive in. We want to experience. Why do we need these complicated half-science, pseudo-scientific, artsy types butting in and saying, this is what games need. This is what games have to be. Why? Just tell me why. Also, when debates, you know, one side can't debate. There needs to be opposing sides who can debate. And Gamergate, let's assume that you were thinking about Gamergate as well, has been trying to do that. Unsuccessfully. Because the other side doesn't want to debate. They want an echo chamber.
We need to recognize when games are being both good and when games are both being hurtful.
So hurt feelings. Legit point, I suppose?
Not necessarily explicitly hurtful, but rather by continuing a larger social construct that
Oh boy.
isn't necessarily beneficial for society.
It's video games. It's a pastime, a time waster, and something to enjoy. You're making it sound like it's way more important than it is. It's important for a lot of people. The way you're putting it, it's basically video games aren't going to be the next subject in schools next year.
In any event, I wonder what your opinion is. I kind of probably think it's going to be the same as mine, but I might be wrong. Ajay quadajis.
Okay, so it wasn't directed at me, but I did respond to you. I think your points are mostly bullshit, and really, you have nothing to say. You say sexism, say it as if it was fact, without any actual backing up. I know this wasn't directed at me, and I am butting my head in where it doesn't belong, but those are my 2 cents on it. Alright? See ya.